All right, welcome back to Stat 7 Sports. I am Detain Kunas, and we're going to start off with a little basically pregame rant before all the weekend series gets going. And I am here for the first time having a guest on show. For this case, I have one of my friends, Connor Graham, also with the band Bayou Bullets, who I will speak about later on. But
that's right, you have the lesser talented part of Bayou Bullets.
Yes, because we have someone who's actually on American Idol.
Yes, Joven Webb. You know, we grew up with the guy. We went to, I was in kindergarten with the dude. Now he's on American Idol. So you don't have him today, but you have someone else who plays rhythm guitar in his band, and that's not important at all. I'm very sorry. But anyways,
but for that point, we will have Bayou Bullets, including this guy right here and Joven Webb at the varsity tomorrow night, and we hope to see any of y'all there with any interest on that case. But enough of that for now. Let's rant about baseball.
Baseball. So, usually what you start to see around this time of the year is Paul Mainieri. He's tinkering with his lineup. He's putting people in different places, trying to see who's going to perform and who's not. So what have we learned at this point?
They only have like a top four that can hit worth a damn.
Yes, I would agree. This team cannot hit. I bet that these guys couldn't even hit it on Monday night shots, 50-cent shots at Reggie's, if their dicks were made of money. These guys can't hit anything. I mean, just let's take a look at these stats. I mean, they speak for themselves. You have 4 hitters batting over 250.
Even worse, above 230.
Yeah, you have multiple hitters, but not just below the Mendoza line. But Hal Hughes, the much maligned Hal Hughes, who was finally benched at this season, has a batting average of 91. Not even a 100 hitter. He's a 91. How do you even do that? I mean, I was terrible at baseball. I think even I did better than a 91.
Actually, let me verify this. Yes, I do think I actually have this correct. We have more people who have had official at-bats who have batting averages below 200 than above.
Even better, we have more batters with a batting average who have recorded at-bats, mind you. We have a batting average of 0.0. That's right, the GPA of the Delta House. 0.0, then above 300.
That's just quite impressive.
It really is, but you know what? This team has found ways to win games. Why? Because they have excellent pitching, much more depth than last year. We're lefties. Dad's a lefty. Taught me how to do everything left-handed. I'm right-handed. I suck at baseball.
And I've played baseball for 15 plus years. I'm still left-hand retarded.
And just ended other ways. But yeah,
Hey, I got a degree.
Is that really saying what you wanted to say? Really?
Okay, carry on.
My wayward son. Anyway, so you have the bulk of the offense is of course coming from Daniel Cabrera batting 290, Maurice Hampton Jr., who's 300 hitter, very solid, and Zach Mathis and Cade Beloso both over 400 on the year. Obviously the night is young. It's still February, but some serious reasons to be concerned here. Usually isn't this usually the time when hitters are kind of when LSU is usually dominating lesser opponents?
You at least hope to get some development from people who have played last year, where it's like outside the main two in that case with Beloso and Cabrera, everyone else sucks. Well, DeGiacomo didn't start. He was supposed to be your starting center fielder.
And he's batting 222, which is up from last year. It's better than he did last year.
No.
Is it?
270.
Really?
Yes.
He got up to 270 by the end of last year?
Yes.
Because he was really bad for a long time there. Wow. So, yeah, he actually is down now.
DeGiacomo and Hampton basically do the same thing as freshmen.
Yeah. And Hal Hughes, somehow, how the Mendoza line Hughes even worse than the year before after he was allegedly, dominating in the East Coast leagues during the summer.
And he is the best. He is the tie for the highest batting average of any shortstop on our team. I don't count Mathis because he's a third baseman.
That's fair. If your best shortstop is batting 91, I think it's safe to say you have a problem. I mean, that's pitcher numbers. I'm starting to believe that we could trot out some of our lefty pitchers out there to hit and get better than a 91.
Heck, we had pitchers, we had hitters who were pitchers before who did better than this. You got Buzzy Idell from back in the day and Chad Jones.
The Dreadlocks of Doom. Greatest nickname ever.
Unlock your dreadlock powers.
It's a pretty good one. Is there a better nickname out there than the Dreadlocks of Doom?
I don't see it.
I think there's one, maybe, arguably. Imperial Galactic Overlord Barkevius Mingo. I don't know if he ever went by it, but he should have. But yeah, Barkevius Mingo, Intergalactic Imperial Overlord. I think that one's pretty good. The Dreadlocks of Doom. I mean, anything of Doom is going to be great. I mean, it doesn't matter whether it's an inanimate object or person. If it is of Doom, especially of Doom and laser beams,
and off-target reference, there's actually a Doom game coming out next month.
A Doom game?
Yes.
Is it Doom of Doom? Or is it Dune of Doom? Because Dune is also coming out later this year. Dune 2020.
Yeah.
As you can tell, this podcast has not been sponsored by Dune, Doom, or Laser Healing of Baton Rouge. I don't think that's a real place. I'm just...
we'll make it up as we go.
We'll make it up as we go. Right, because we don't have any sponsors. But if you were a sponsor, because of our massive following, mostly this guy, all this guy, exclusively this guy,
He's just added on for extra.
We could be hawking your product that we don't believe in, but we'll be paid to believe in it. We can be bought. Good people of Baton Rouge and other places that I assume also matter, because let's face it, I mean, clearly, most important place ever, center of the world.
We will sell out for your money.
Sell out with me. Oh, yeah. And if I sing any more than that, then it's a copyright infraction, but you get the point.
No. You get as much as 20 seconds.
20 seconds? I could have 20 seconds? I mean, do you know, obviously we all know what you can do with 20 seconds. I don't know what you do with the other 19, but anyways.
So we might get too many dislikes if you keep going.
Moving on to what can happen in 20 seconds. LSU basketball.
And it actually looked good for a while.
Yeah, it was good while it lasted. I mean, this is a team. Obviously, we knew we were able to see the flaws, but it's LSU basketball this season. It's like when you meet a girl, and man, things are great, everything's fun, and all those little quirks are kind of almost exciting, and then all of a sudden, you start to see the cracks. You start to see those red flags that you kind of ignored early on. Suddenly, they're glaring. That little weird laugh that she has that was almost charming when you first met her. Now it makes you want to kill yourself and others. Not her, of course, because we don't advocate for violence against women other than this guy. Wait, that's just kidding. Why that you were a woman, not that you advocated for violence, but I think that was just a clumsy use of the metaphor, surely.
It's JD, God damn it. A complete and utter shit show.
Yeah, I'm so glad that I didn't watch that game. Like I watched obviously the first one that they played where LSU won, but I'm so glad I was thinking about it. And I just knew they're gonna get creamed, and so my faith. I am ye of little faith. I admit it.
And for one that actually watched the majority of that game, Skylar was he had to have been injured through that game because He had no movement in his game whatsoever outside of one drive that he had that most people who saw the game know of. He did a pump fake that completely threw off his defender, went in for a two-handed slam, and completely missed the dunk. And then ended up missing on 2 possessions after that a wide open 3 that he was waiting for like 3 seconds on, and then airballed a layup.
Well, I mean, these are the kind of things that happen. Players have to play hurt when you have no depth. I mean, this team doesn't even have a point guard. And at the beginning of the year, what we saw when LSU kind of went on this run through the early part of the SEC was they had their 2-point guard, but they were rebounding so incredibly well. Teams were just not able to hit the broadside of a barn from 3 against them for whatever reason early on, and they were able to pull out close games because they rebounded so well that they got so many extra possessions. Now teams have kind of figured them out. The teams are lighting them up from the 3-point line, and the fact that you don't have a true point guard means you're going to be turning the ball over a lot in those last 2 minutes, even if you're hitting your free throws. And LSU has been a little colder on free throws than they had been earlier in the year, where they were just automatic.
So with very few exceptions during the SEC season, we have allowed every single team to go against, that we've gone against, to improve their 3-point percentage.
Yes. We just don't defend the perimeter, and I'm not really. It seems to me that Coach Wade is really at a loss of how to motivate his team to do that. It seems like they don't. It seems like they're willing to concede the 3-point game if that means that they're going to do better on the boards. And as I said, it worked in the first part of the season because teams weren't hitting those threes. Those threes were rimming out. They were bouncing. And LSU was getting extra possessions. But now those threes are landing, and they're devastating.
And also for the fact that they're not getting to the line. Yes, you're saying that they haven't shot it as well from the free throw line. They're not getting to the line as often.
Yeah, I mean, just look at that Kentucky game. I mean, we couldn't buy a foul when we were getting roughed up underneath the basket when they were all over.
Yeah,
Williams. Evan Williams, and
okay. As much as you want to have
Devontae Smart, I mean, but they weren't getting the calls.
As much as we want to have Tremont back, he's not coming back. He can dribble too well. He can drive too well. He's a point guard that we will never have again. Okay, that's a little too.
Pull one out for my homie. He's gone off to that big D-League in the sky.
And I feel like this would have been a good time to split a shot.
Probably so. If we pause it, then not pause it. Obviously, all of this is only recorded live. If we just magically use our fingers and our brains, we can conjure up 2 shots to appear magically in front of the camera. You want to do that?
Maybe add a little bit of extra sponsor to it, potentially.
Potentially? We could be sponsored? Woo! Yay! All right. Bibbidi boobidi bobbidi beep. Oh my gosh, it worked! Just like the gypsy woman said. Let's see what it is. It's rum. Nice. That is not just any rum.
That is Louisiana's own Scott, was it?
No, it's not Scott. Scott's where the boudin is. Lacassine.
Yes. Bayou rum from Lacassine.
I'm assuming. I mean, that's what it seems like it would be spelled. Lacassine, like a sign. Like a sign. I mean, show me a sign. I think it's Lacassine.
All right, and back to a craft show that this team has been
in their ability to not contest shots from 3. Teams are just now, like I said, early in the season, those shots weren't falling. Now those shots are finding the bottom of the net. Nothing but the bottom of the net. And boom goes the dynamite. And this team's got 5 losses now. And a couple of those losses have been to bad teams. I mean, Vanderbilt was winless going into that game.
They were winless last year. Over the past 2 seasons, we're the only team they've lost to.
I mean, that...
And that broke our, what was it, like a 25-game road winning streak in the SEC?
It was something absurd like that. Now, question. So it was such a lopsided, such a terrible loss. It begs the question. What is the worst loss? LSU basketball on the road in Nashville to Vanderbilt this year, winless in conference Vanderbilt, or 2016 at home against Troy?
I knew you were going to go with that one.
And if so, which one do you say?
I think I got to go with Troy for the fact that
mind you, that was a Troy team that won 10 games and had multiple NFL draft picks and won their conference.
But speaking of NFL draft picks, but now on a different football league.
Are you trying to segue to the fact that that the
Brandon Silvers
of the mid of Troy dominating in the XFL? So we've been so frustrated watching LSU sports as things have turned here, and as the calendar switched from January to February. We're done. Until LSU shows me a reason to get back on the bandwagon. We've got a new game in town, baby. It's XFL. Let's do it. Can you smell what the XFL is cooking? It's also a Vince McMahon property.
a little too strong this way.
Little much. Well, that rum was pretty strong, and I'm okay with it. That's Bayou Rum, who we are not brought to by. They have not paid us to sponsor them, but they're just so gosh darn good.
Great factory.
Feels so good in my belly. So smooth.
Best factory ever.
You're gonna get tired. So great. Their factory is so good. It's good factory, great factory, greatest distillery in the world. And I've known a lot of great distilleries in my time. And we have to wrap up this bit. The XFL is finally here. It's been a long wait. I know just a year ago, good night, sweet prince, American Alliance of Football.
The one thing that is in common on both leagues, starting quarterback for the Vipers, and who is he on for the AAF?
Don't ask me. I prepared for the XFL, not for the AAF. I was obviously a big, Memphis fan, as were all of us LSU fans here, because I was rooting so hard for Zach Mettenberger, and that did not work.
He's off in another league that no one wants to talk about anymore. But speaking of guys he actually played against, Aaron Murray, the factory of suckness,
continues. I have it on good authority that, as you can see at 0-3, Tampa Bay is the worst team in the league, and they are absolutely putrid at quarterback. But it goes beyond that. The level of suckage is so profound that Tampa Bay Vipers fans have adopted a new means, a new way of defecation, because you can't go 0-3 in a made-up football league and expect to be normal. And still support their team, which is why Tampa Bay is second only to the Los Angeles Wildcats as far as fan support. They're only averaging about 15,000 fans per game. But those fans are committed to the new way of thinking, and that is they poop standing up. And that's what it's like to watch Aaron Murray play quarterback for the Tampa Bay Vipers. It's like watching a quarterback poop standing up on every play.
Quite a story, Cotton.
Cotton's not wearing any shorts. All right, as we go on. And let's be honest. Flowers hasn't been much better. He's brought a little bit of spark to their offense when he's on the field. They're able to move it between the 20s, but they cannot. They're just incapable of really getting any points once they get in the red zone.
But at least he has some sort of mobility.
He does, and as a result, he's speaking of exercising said mobility. this week he's requesting a trade. He's requesting that Tampa Bay release him because he's so tired of dealing with him. And, they are throwing some yards. I mean, they have the 4th leading receiver in the league, and Dan Williams. Somebody is catching passes.
Which situation is worse, though? Him, with the Viper situation at quarterback, or you got to go with the crap fest, which was Matt McGloin last week.
Yeah, that was so. Coming to this game, Matt McGloin had been playing pretty well.
Yep.
He hadn't been doing too bad, and
he's actually starting in a playoff game. So it's like he was one of the more experienced quarterbacks that a lot of people were looking forward to.
I mean, I wasn't. I mean, the guy's name sounds like my groin. I mean, I've placed many a pizza order under the name Pat McGloin. So Matt McGloin is just, I mean, that's like the slightly more legitimate version of that.
Well, that'll give a few chuckles along.
If I'm saying it, we know there's no chuckles.
At this point, we hope for 50-50. We're going to end up settling for 15-85.
If you recall, in middle school, there was a study done about my attempted comedic remarks, and the average was about 1 in 12 landed. Granted, I'd like to think I've gotten a little better since then, but we all know that is not the case.
Hey. You've doubled your percentage. I'm giving you 15.
1 in 6, maybe? You think I'm up to 1 in 6?
Yeah.
The 1 in 6, they could be pretty good. And I would settle for pretty good. I mean, the St. Louis Battlehawks, 2-1. Pretty good. DC Defenders, 2-1. Pretty good. If you've watched these games, you would see what was one of the best sights, honestly, in sports this past week. The St. Louis Battlehawks hosted their first game at home, and they sold out the entire lower bowl of their stadiums. The first pro game played in St. Louis.
St. Louis is just starved for football. But whenever Renicky basically, literally sold off their team to L.A.
Yeah.
Sold them off to Hollywood.
Yeah. And you know what? The fans responded. They filled up that bowl. I mean, honestly, if they keep this up, they're going to have to open up the upper bowl. They could have 40, 50,000 people at their games, by the end of the season if they keep this up. And that's a pretty good team there. I mean, they definitely got depth at quarterback. I mean, you got to cheer for a league where you have Jordan Ta'amu from Ole Miss starting over Nate Fitzgerald from Mississippi State. Having those two guys on the same roster in the same quarterback room, I mean, that's just fun. I mean, wouldn't you like to see wouldn't it be funny to see an NFL Hard Knocks episode if somehow Joe Burrow was on the same team as Tua? I mean, you would watch that.
Oh, everyone would watch it.
Of course we'd watch it because deep down, we love trash TV. We love storylines. We love drama. And that's what Vince McMahon brings. Because this is the XFL, baby. And it's not your grandpa's XFL. There's new rules, and honestly, I like them. What have you thought about some of the rule changes so far?
I enjoy I feel bad for kickers where they almost completely get shafted, but not so much where.
Talking about the extra point rules?
The extra point rules. I like them in general, but for the fact that it's kickers, it actually, now that I think about it, it's actually better for them for the fact that they can't be criticized for just missing extra points.
I mean, let's be honest. If you miss an extra point in the NFL, you suck. You're a terrible person, and you're not earning your keep, and you're probably going to have your legs broken by a Russian mobster. I don't make the rules. I just think of them up and enforce them as I go.
But between the extra point rules, between the kickoff rules.
Love the kickoff rule. I think that's a really good compromise between those who are trying to eliminate kickoffs and those who still want to see that action. We had the first kickoff return for a touchdown this past weekend. It was really exciting.
Oh, yeah, I did actually catch that.
Yeah.
But also, it does go, a lot of it is based off of more, at least some of college football rules, for the fact that it's you only have to have one foot ball.
Which I think it's more fun for me.
It's a middle ground for a way where it's the NFL is trying to, well, if they're smart, they should hope to get this essentially as pretty much a G League.
Or, but I think that would be helpful. I think one of the big rules that'll make that happen is the fact that while the NCAA is moving towards this one-time transfer waiver rule, where players will be able to, after just to transfer at least one time without having to sit out, the XFL is also offering a point of refuge. So if you get into academic problems, you only have to spend 1 year of college before you can go to the XFL. So while you can't go straight out of high school, there's no Maurice Claret type of situation here. You can spend just 1 year in college, be a one and done, and then go play and at least make a little bit of money. Obviously, XFL players not getting paid that much right now.
Yeah.
But if the league continues to grow, maybe that could change. Obviously, right now, this is all just kind of a trial run to see if this is really sustainable. Obviously, the AFL was not sustainable. But maybe this is. And some of these teams are pretty fun to watch. Some of them are not. Obviously, Tampa Bay, the reason I mentioned about the fact that their fans poop standing up is that it's literally the only interesting thing about them. They're hard to watch. They can't score. Seattle Dragons have a great defense, but they can't score. What do you think about the issue of talent dilution? Because that was obviously a lot of people were critical of these leagues, saying that these minor leagues are just not enough talent to go around. And what do you think about that?
Well, it's like we know there's going to be a steep drop off from what the NFL is going to offer, and it's probably going to be at best like a middling college football game on middling to upper college football game off of just standards of what you expect from all the skills from everyone in the XFL. For the fact that everyone on here is either pretty much throwaways that couldn't make rosters or are trying to end up building, are like free agents at this point, are trying to build themselves off into a somewhat decent contract in the NFL for this coming season before all the CBA stuff goes off with next year, if not this year as well.
I think one thing that could really jeopardize this league is the fact that one of the parts of the new CBA, one of the things that's being debated is actually expanding rosters and allowing a few more people onto your game day rosters and onto your practice squads. If they do that, that's could put a real dent. 32. If you have 32 teams that are each allowed to have 6 more players, that's a couple rosters worth of people here.
But one thing on this that, yes, people are saying an issue on for it. I don't think that's going to make an adjustment off of the quarterback situation. I don't think, like, outside of maybe, like Cardell Jones, like maybe Jordan Ta'amu, and PJ. Roughneck's quarterback.
That would be Josh Johnson.
Wow, I got that way off. I thought the one that Andrew Luck basically.
Oh wait, no, I'm sorry. I'm looking at the Los Angeles Wildcats. That's why I was about to say.
Oh,
that's okay.
You're making me look bad.
The answer is PJ Hawker.
Yes,
Hawker.
Exactly. Sure. Outside of those, it's really not going to dilute the quarterback market for the XFL.
See, in my opinion, what the XFL has to do is, so in the NFL, one of the big things that a lot of people don't know about the NFL is that if you don't stick to a roster for more than 3 years, you don't get a pension. And so a lot of players that are marginal, that maybe are, just kind of on the edge of making it, after 3 years, they're cut, even if they probably could play, because there's a younger player they can replace them with that they were not going to have to pay a pension to. And if they get them out of the league early enough, they won't have to pay them a pension. Yeah. So like those kind of players that are right on the line of starting, well, not maybe not starting, but of being on an NFL roster, that are over 3 years out of college, those guys have a league now that they can showcase their skills. You know, a guy like Cardell Jones, or that somebody who is marginal. Or now, I think another thing that's hurt the XFL as compared to maybe if this XFL had come out about 5 years ago was the fact that the NFL's finally embracing the spread.
Yeah.
For so long, you had all these amazing spread quarterbacks that were just throwing stats up everywhere.
Yeah, the college game is finally going into the pros, which if it was just a couple years ago off of it, just the fact you could have had the middle ground where it's like it could have ended up helping to advance the NFL, or even if it wouldn't do that, it would have kind of its own separate thing that was kind of a conglomeration of both leagues.
I just remember it wasn't that long ago that they had these huge knocks against quarterbacks like RG3 and Cam Newton of the fact that, they're just spread quarterbacks, and spread quarterbacks can't succeed in the NFL. And now there's spread quarterbacks all over the place that are succeeding. I mean, let's be honest. If somebody like Dak Prescott came out of college 5-10 years earlier, he wouldn't have gotten drafted. Or if he did, it would have been as a tight end. And now he was able to start. I mean, we'll see where he ends up in free agency if he gets re-signed to the Dallas Cowboys. But I mean, these guys would have had a home, but now the NFL has kind of embraced the spread. It's a copycat league, and everybody's in, okay, we got to find this young offensive wizard, somebody who's handsome and is going to take us to the promised land while doing some How Mummy stuff,
Which is exactly what the Carolina Panthers are doing with their, we have one of the 5 richest people in the world. Let's just throw all of his money onto coach and offensive coordinator, which is coach got about 5 times.
The Brady Bunch. That's why they are going to be called the Brady Bunch. That's got to be sleeping now.
Yeah. But literally, Matt Rule got about like 5 times that anybody else was going to offer him. He got, what was it, like $60 million for 7 years?
Whatever it was, we'll never know if it's too much or not enough until he actually plays those. Because it could be a great hire, it could be a terrible hire. Right now, it's just a fad. It's just to find anyone in the college football game that runs an up-tempo offense and just throw a Brinks truck at them and hope it pays off. Now, granted, Joe Brady did a miracle. He performed a miracle here in Baton Rouge, him and Joe Burrow, and there's a lot of talk of them moving up from the 8th pick to try to get him, but that has absolutely nothing to do with the XFL.
No,
Or
does it?
Because there's a lot of LSU players in this XFL, especially on the DC Defenders.
16 in the combine, which I'll discuss the combine in a video in the future, but not all of these. Thank you. But not all of them are going to get drafted. Not all of them are going to make a roster.
And just maybe, all those How Mummy wannabes can learn something from the XFL. Why? Because How Mummy is the offensive coordinator of the Dallas Renegades under head coach Bob Stoops. Everybody's expecting this Dallas team is going to be the best. They've got the best coach with the pedigree. They got the best offensive coordinator. The guy who invented the air raid offense, which is now taken over the NFL thanks to all the new rules changes. The guy who made the Battleship Lorenzen the greatest nickname of any sports. That's better than the Dreadlocks of Doom.
That's fair.
Dreadlocks of Doom, best LSU. Battleship Lorenzen, best of all time.
No one can fault that.
Yeah. And they had the most hyped quarterback, Landry Jones. Yeah, they're 2-1.
Which they actually have my favorite play that happened. They had a double pass work.
One of our favorite rule changes, the ability to do the double forward pass. It's so silly, but the fact that they made it work makes my heart sing. It almost caught me so off guard that I nearly pooped. while sitting down, not standing up because I'm not a Viper, but it almost.
No, not enough to make me leave. No.
What would it take to make you a Vipers fan? That's what I want. I want to know what it would take for you to watch this team every week, because it's bad. Granted, being a Guardian or a Dragon is not much better. I mean, they've each got one win.
Hey, I would go to a Dragons game just for the fact that you would actually be in Seattle Stadium.
That's true. It's a beautiful stadium, and Seattle Dragons, despite being 1-2, are second in the league in attendance, right behind the Battlehawks. I mean, they're getting about 28,000 people averaging in their 2 home games. I mean, that's pretty fantastic for a minor league in its first year.
Yeah, I got family who lives right outside of St. Louis, and they're overjoyed for anything in between. Well, they don't really care about hockey, just like everyone else in the South.
But I mean, the St. Louis Blues, they just want to stay in clubs.
Yeah, they actually last year.
Yeah,
first one ever.
And you know what? Battlehawks games are outperforming St. Louis Blues games on TV in St. Louis, even when the Battlehawks are on cable. St. Louis is jazzed about the XFL.
Jazz New Orleans was during the Mardi Gras.
Oh man, that I don't know if that's. I mean, it was like there was a Sonic on every corner. I mean, they were knuckle checking all over the place. Clearly, the ghosts of the workers in the Hard Rock Hotel have been haunting New Orleans. I mean, just the destruction and lack of care of life of this, the joie de vivre of this city. The passion for 5-cent beads to put your life on the line is just beautiful. It's the kind of passion I hope someday maybe Louisiana could put into a minor league team, because we clearly don't put it into LSU basketball or even Pelicans basketball, even though we have, Zion, who is just as built. I mean, he's incredible.
Like really, with 15 games into his career, he's averaging 20 and 10, and despite having Ja Morant playing the full season, for the fact that he's nearly have a double-double, 17 points and about 9 assists a game, nobody is talking about Morant. Everyone's talking Zion.
It's because he's giant. He's a giant man. And you know what's a giant? A giant in the league right now has got to be this Houston offense. This Houston Roughnecks offense averaging 33 points a game. I mean, that's why they're 3-0. They don't have Hal Mumming. They don't have Landry Jones. They got Pat McGroin at quarterback, and they're averaging 33 points a game.
How?
Well, let's take a look how they are doing it. Well, it helps.
And it's also throwing me off.
Actually, I'm sorry. They have P.J. Walker.
It's not Pat McGroin because he was awful. I know they lost their last game. It's like, what?
I throw out these wrong things on not purpose. So yeah, P.J. Walker leads the league in passing yards. They've got the 4th leading receiver in James Butler. He's got 130 yards receiving in 3 games. They've got, in rushing, 130 yards rushing. We're clearly very prepared. But in my opinion, the reason why they're doing this, they have the league's leading rusher, Cam Phillips, averaging over 100 yards a game rushing.
Receiving.
Yes.
They're
very prepared. As you can see, the alcohol is having no effects on our faculties or abilities to read pieces of paper verbatim the way that they are written.
I don't want the XFL as much as I'd like, and clearly not as much as you do. But I know who Cam Phillips is, and that he's a receiver, not a running back.
So, I did a little bit of homework here about these teams, and some interesting statistics came to light as I was going through it. So, like I said, the Houston Roughnecks averaging they have had 99 points on the year so far, averaging 33 a game on offense. They've given up just 68 points. It's pretty good. That's a pretty good ratio of points scored versus points allowed. And you see that the 1 and 2 meanwhile, the Los Angeles Wildcats, obviously they're 1 and 2, but they also have a positive ratio of points to points allowed. They've scored 74 on the season and have allowed 71. If you compare that to the other 1 and 2 and 0 and 3 teams, they're not even close. I mean, Seattle Dragons, they've scored 48 and allowed 55. The Tampa Bay Vipers have only scored 39 points and allowed 74. The New York LaGuardians,
and almost all but like a field goal of that came up surprisingly against the Roughnecks.
Yeah, the Roughnecks are not leading the league in defense, but they're not terrible, but they're definitely not leading the league in defense. If you want to look, so at this point in the season, we're 3 games in, we're starting to figure out the identities of these teams. So Houston clearly has the best offense.
Yes.
The best defense right now, statistically, is Dallas, believe it or not. The How Mummy team, the Air Raid team, is averaging just 15 points allowed.
That's about as crazy as saying that Oklahoma is the best defense in college football.
That's almost as crazy as saying LSU is the best offense in college football.
I see what you did there.
I know, right? But right behind them, just barely in second place, the 2 and 1 Battlehawks. Battlehawks, second best defense in the league at 15.3 points per game. They're only allowing slightly more points than Dallas. Best record right now, of course, Houston at 3-0.
Yeah.
The worst. Now here's the worst ones. The worst offense. The New York LaGuardians. I know they're the Guardians, but let's be honest, they're the LaGuardians. Out in New Jersey, only scoring less than 11 points a game. That's Big Ten territory, baby. How do you only do that? I mean, they're averaging less than 11 points a game. Granted, Tampa Bay, not much better.
No, like they're the worst offense in the league. Whenever Tampa Bay didn't score a touchdown in their first 2 games.
That is the level of suckitude that the New York LaGuardians have. I'm sorry, the New Jersey LaGuardians, the Newark LaGuardia Airport has really put forward in there. I mean, they're allowed, and the Tampa Bay is allowing 13 points per game, so they're not much better.
Yeah.
Both really, really bad.
And in defense for the XFL on this, no matter what football league you have between football, between NFL, and between the middle ground, which is the XFL, every league has a Vipers. Every league probably has worse than a Vipers.
Someone's got to suck. We can't all be winners.
Like NFL, you can always say that about the Cleveland Browns.
Someone's got to be the Cincinnati Bengals. And this year it was the Cincinnati Bengals. And last year it was also the Cincinnati Bengals. Yeah. But so you can tell when you look at the stats, the reason Tampa Bay sucks, like I said, they're the second worst offense out of 8. They're number 7 out of 8 in offense. In defense, they are the worst. They are the 8th best defense in an 18 league, averaging 24.7 points per game allowed. Which I think is interesting that the best offense is averaging 33 points and the worst defense is only averaging 24. It's kind of weird, huh?
I thought it'd be...
I think those numbers would be closer together.
Yeah, that seems... Especially for the fact that you can have 9-point possessions.
Go figure.
Oh,
I think that this is the kind of wizardry to expect out of a Vince McMahon run league that's based around gambling, which I'm all for. But come on, this is weird stuff. So at this point, we've really established a hierarchy. Right now, the Roughnecks are 3-0. They're running roughshod over everybody. It's kind of rough early this season, but you can roughly tell who, the hierarchy of the league, where the Roughnecks are at the top. Right underneath them, you have the Battlehawks and the Defenders, both at 2-1. Then you have three teams crowded in the middle. Personally, I feel like the Wildcats, like I said,
you forget about the Renegades, also at 2-1.
The Renegades, the Defenders, those guys both 2-1. They're doing okay, and I think any of them it's still anybody's game here. Obviously, the Battlehawks are in a division where there isn't an undefeated team, where Dallas has got to contend with Houston. So, St. Louis, DC, Dallas in that second tier. Third tier, New York, Los Angeles, Seattle. I think Los Angeles is better than the record shows. As I showed you, their points differential is not that big. That's a team that I think, and they just knocked off the DC Defenders in game their first loss.
They have the second best offense in the league.
Yeah. And their defense is nowhere near the bottom. So I think that if
their defense is on par with the Roughnecks.
Right.
Which ain't great, but ain't the worst.
Right. And I think that to me, what that shows is that this is a team that can get better. This is a team that has a chance to really be better than their record shows. Because right now, every statistic in this league shows the wild cards aren't anywhere near as bad as the Guardians or the Dragons. The Dragons cannot score. The Guardians cannot score. The Wildcats can.
The Vipers cannot score.
The Vipers, they poop standing up. They are in last place for good reason. They're probably going to be last place all season. This is not a good football team.
They're also last in attendance, which...
If you lose in attendance to a Los Angeles-based franchise, close up shop. I mean, honestly, I don't think there should have been a franchise in Tampa Bay to begin with. I think
there is no franchise, especially in football, in pro football, in Florida, that has a strong fan base.
It's true.
Think about it.
Well, what about pro sports in general? I mean, the Miami Marlins.
The Heat are kind of the only exception on that.
Do the Heat have fans now? I mean, obviously they did back when they had the big three. Are they even drawing attendance now? I don't know. I don't watch the NBA. Why? Well, because they have like 80-something games a year, and their playoffs all are best of 7. I mean, everything's meaningless. All the goals are meaningless. Whereas XFL, 10-game season, not too much, not a huge commitment. Each possession matters. And huge tracts of land to work with here. I mean, it's a 100-yard field. Actually, 120. Yeah, include the end zones.
And at this point, it's shrunken down enough to where it's like between the start and the end of the season, you have like the only thing you have going on for the NFL is the combine and the pro days. You don't even miss the draft before it's over.
And the Canadian Football League. Pitter-patter, let's get at her. Got a problem with the Canadian Football League. Got a problem with me. I suggest you let that one marinate.
But I'm part Canadian. I don't know.
Pitter-pat. I'm liking where the XFL is going. Unfortunately, what we've seen is very similar to the AF. Each week, ratings have gotten lower. Hopefully, we're going to pretty soon we'll start to see that stabilize and this league become something that's sustainable long term. But that's going to show for the next few weeks if people keep watching. I think that quarterback play is an issue. When you have half the team, you have 3 of the teams in your league are pretty much unwatchable. Seattle Dragons, they have a great home atmosphere and a good defense. But man, that team just can't score.
Well, at least a good thing on this is for the fact that, yes, quarterback situation is halfway good, halfway disaster. You can say that's about the odds. But nobody in the XFL on quarterbacks is actually that old.
This is true.
So this is a very young league, not just the age of the league, but there is very young rosters where it's like you're not really going to get too many people that are going to be having to go through veterans minimums in the NFL. So it's all roughly like 26 and younger.
And I think the fact that they're so young gives them the potential to grow as the season goes on. These are players that are not static. These are players that haven't peaked physically. These are players that are maybe just getting to their prime.
Yeah.
So we have the chance to maybe these players, these young rosters will grow up with these teams. And we know that Vince McMahon is committed to resources to get this to at least last 3 years, which I think is big. Give them a chance to maybe find that fall. I mean, the first season of Seinfeld, they didn't have a great following. There's been a long history of television shows that were canceled before their time, before they could find an audience, and shows that maybe were given a chance longer than probably should have, but then managed to become cult classics and successes. Hopefully the XFL and this spring classic can become that for fans that just want to see more football. And honestly, when I watch a game, it's entertaining. Do you find the quality of play to be difficult to watch?
No, it's one thing where it's like you can hear, like, one thing, I don't know how much it's going to fully stick on it, and it's not going to be something that's going to go to the NFL, is for the fact that you get kind of so close and personal between players, between coaches, where it's like you can hear the play calls
between referees.
Yes.
That's probably my favorite feature is they have, when in the XFL they mic the referees all the time.
Yeah.
And so they'll be discussing a call and the guys will just walk up, dude, I don't know what just happened. Do you have any idea? No, what are we going to do? 5 yard, 10 yard, pick it up?
Bring it to the booth.
Bring it to the booth. Yeah, we're going to go to the booth. And you get to see all of this. You get to hear it live. You get to hear them, the coaches call the play. And then after somebody drops a touchdown pass, they're like, oh, well, we've got our sideline reporter. Hey, what happened right there? It's almost embarrassingly close to the fans, but it's definitely a different aspect of it than I've ever seen in any sport. It's kind of, they took that from kind of programs, and it's weird. Sometimes it's a little off-putting, but sometimes it's really funny. It's like, I mean, don't you want to know what happens in somebody's head after they make a bonehead play? I mean, let's go back. Let's open an old wound. Playoff game. Saints versus Minnesota Vikings.
Which one?
Miracle in Minnesota.
Okay.
I mean, can you imagine right after that play's over, they just stick that microphone right in that, right in
Marcus Williams.
Right in his face, and ask him, so what happened right there? What would you do? And just leave him on the TV screen for 2 minutes straight. I mean, that's what happens in the XFL every game.
If you want us to repeat what we would expect off of it, we will refrain from that for the fact that we do not have a censor bar.
This is true.
But
sometimes they say you shouldn't, if you can't say anything nice, don't say anything at all.
And then we're actually close to the hour mark. If they kept watching me by this point, it's like they're not going to care.
Of course not. I mean, we've been here for 53 minutes. If we can't say the word that we want to say, then you can go yourself, because no,
it's still going. It's still going.
It said that we're being dropped. I don't know what's going on. Wait, why did it censor that? Did it just censor that? I said, you would think it would censor the word fuck, but it was censoring the word. I don't know. We don't know what's going on. Technology is weird. Obviously, the robots that secretly control us, as we're all just a bunch of meat puppets, know better than us what we're supposed to be saying.
And to get back on topic and to kind of put a wrap on this whole thing.
Speaking of meat puppets.
Why, I'm always the meat puppet.
I I didn't realize you were always a meat puppet.
And now I scare him off. We all get one win. But just think about this for the future for it. This is the first season of the XFL. There's still a lot of players that are going to be hesitant off of trying to join this, especially based off of the previous time the XFL existed, and for the fact of how the AAF failed so marvelously last season. So,
Good night, sweet prince.
So once you see more NFL players seeing that it's going to be going well for this, next season you're able to get more veterans, more people interested, from ones that have NFL experience, and for the ones that are coming into the league from college and from overseas and wherever. So
let me ask you, if you were, let's say you had been a college football player that was pretty good, a guy that was on an all-conference team in a major conference 2-3 years ago, but now you're an accountant, or you sell cars, or you make a decent living, are you going to give that up to get hit for 10 to 12 games? I mean, are you going to quit your day job that probably makes just about as much to go risk your body and risk concussions?
They gotta give me some damn good insurance.
I mean, and I don't know what the insurance is like for the XFL. I mean, this isn't
for the NFL. It takes 5 years for anyone to get insurance, wherever the average life of an average player is 3. I was a life insurance.
So what am I, just a piece of meat puppet to you?
And we bring it back.
That's what I do.
Now
this is not a human meat puppet on the screen.
Now, if y'all did actually watch over this past weekend, American Idol is back. And normally we will not pay any sort of attention to it. But as we said earlier, Jovan Webb, the lead singer of Bayou Bullets, was on American Idol and is going to Hollywood. Woo-hoo! And before he goes to Hollywood, he will be down in Baton Rouge tomorrow night at the Varsity
Theater with Sometimes I Swear and Henry V, but he'll only be playing with us going on last. And then actually the following week, on Friday, March the 6th, we'll also be at the Spotlight Lounge in Metairie, Louisiana, if you want to hear us play a whole bunch of covers, because some people are into that. But in Baton Rouge, it'll be mostly original music.
You might get a cover of what he sang this past Sunday.
I don't know about that. I mean, Whip and Post, Allman Brothers. I mean, who likes that type of music? I mean, that's barbecue sauce music.
I could use barbecue sauce now.
I could use some barbecue sauce. But unfortunately, even though we're sponsored by Pit and Peel Barbecue, literally right outside of the door, I can smell it when I drive in. It's Lent, so we'd have to go with the Peel side. Honestly, I'm feeling the pit. I'm feeling the pit, but I can't have the pit because I want the pit, but I gotta have the peel. Honestly, I'm feeling the peel.
All right.
Do you see the appeal of the peel? Because I'm not peeling it.
And with that being said, thank you for joining us.